December 8, 2025, 3:47 a.m., the Kerch Strait, Crimea. A convoy of Russian military trucks rolls toward the Crimea Bridge. Inside, engineers, construction equipment, repair materials. Their mission, fix the damaged sections of Putin's prized bridge connecting Russia to occupied Crimea. The convoy is just 15 kilometers away from the bridge. In exactly 23 minutes, they'll arrive at the construction zone. But Ukraine is watching and waiting. What happened in the next hour would become one of the most precise military strikes of the entire war. How did Ukraine know exactly when and where to strike? What made this convoy so valuable? And why did Russia never see it coming? To understand why this attack mattered, you need to understand what the Crimea Bridge means to Russia. This isn't just any bridge. It's a 19-kilometer-long structure, the longest bridge in Europe, connecting mainland Russia to the Crimean Peninsula. Putin himself drove a truck across it during the opening ceremony in 2018. For Russia, it's a symbol of power. For the war effort, it's a lifeline. Every day, Russian military supplies roll across this bridge. Fuel, ammunition, troops, equipment. Everything the Russian forces need in southern Ukraine flows through here. Without this bridge, Russia would have to ship supplies by sea or take a massive detour through occupied territories. Both options are slower, more expensive, and more vulnerable to attack. That's why when Ukraine damaged sections of the bridge in previous strikes, Russia panicked. Repair crews worked around the clock. Military engineers were brought in from across Russia. The bridge had to stay operational no matter the cost. But here's the problem Russia faced. Every repair convoy became a target. Every truck carrying materials, every team of engineers, every piece of construction equipment. Ukraine knew that destroying these repair efforts was just as important as damaging the bridge itself. The stakes were massive. If Russia couldn't repair the bridge quickly, their entire southern campaign would suffer. Supply lines would collapse, troops would run short on ammunition. The war effort in occupied territories would slow to a crawl. But if Ukraine could stop the repairs, they wouldn't just damage infrastructure. They'd cut off one of Russia's most critical supply routes. They'd prove that even Putin's proudest achievement wasn't safe. They'd show the world that Russia couldn't protect its own territory. To succeed, Ukraine's plan had to be perfect. Ukrainian intelligence had been watching the Crimea Bridge for months. Every vehicle, every worker, every supply shipment. They used satellites, drones, and informants on the ground. They tracked patterns. When do repair crews move? What routes do they take? How many vehicles travel together? They noticed something interesting. Russian repair convoys always moved at night, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. when satellite coverage was limited and most Ukrainian drones were grounded for maintenance. Russia thought they were being smart, moving under cover of darkness, avoiding detection. But Ukrainian intelligence saw the pattern, and patterns can be exploited. The Ukrainians identified the convoy assembly point near Krasnodar, about 200 kilometers from the bridge. This is where Russian engineers gathered, loaded their trucks, and prepared for the journey. Ukrainian agents in the area sent regular updates. How many trucks? What kind of equipment? When would they leave? Then came the breakthrough. Ukrainian intelligence intercepted Russian military communications. They learned that a major repair convoy was being organized. This wasn't just a few trucks. This was the convoy. Dozens of vehicles, specialized bridge repair equipment, senior engineers who knew the bridge's exact weak points. The convoy would leave Krasnodar on December 7th at 11:30 p.m. It would take the coastal highway. It would arrive at the bridge just before 4 a.m. on December 8th. Ukraine now knew three critical things: when, where, and what. But hitting a moving convoy at night, 200 kilometers behind enemy lines with pinpoint accuracy, that required something special. Ukraine would use their newly acquired ATACMS missiles. American-made, precision-guided, deadly accurate. Each missile could strike within meters of its target, even at maximum range. The plan was simple but risky. Wait until the convoy was at its most vulnerable point. Not too close to the bridge where Russian air defenses were strongest. Not too far away where the convoy could scatter. There was a sweet spot, about 15 kilometers from the bridge, where the highway passed through open terrain with limited cover. That's where they'd strike. December 7th, 11:28 p.m. The convoy begins assembling near Krasnodar. Ukrainian drones flying high above count the vehicles, 43 trucks, 8 armored vehicles for protection, 3 mobile cranes, dozens of engineers and workers. This is bigger than intelligence predicted. The convoy starts moving at 11:35 p.m., 5 minutes late. Ukrainian operators track every kilometer. The missiles are already programmed with the strike coordinates. Launch teams are on standby. Everything is ready. But then something unexpected happens. At 1:15 a.m., the convoy stops. Completely. For over 30 minutes, the vehicles sit motionless on the highway. Ukrainian command doesn't know why. Is it a scheduled break? Did they detect surveillance? Are they changing routes? The tension is unbearable. If the convoy turns around, the entire operation fails. Weeks of planning wasted. The opportunity gone. Ukrainian intelligence scrambles to find answers. They intercept more Russian communications, and they learn the truth. One of the convoy's lead vehicles broke down. The Russians are doing emergency repairs. They're not suspicious. They're just unlucky. At 1:52 a.m., the convoy moves again. But now they're behind schedule. Instead of arriving at 4 a.m., they'll reach the strike zone closer to 4:30 a.m. That means less darkness for cover, higher risk of detection. Ukraine adjusts the plan. The launch window shifts forward. At 2:30 a.m., another problem. Russian fighter jets appear on radar conducting routine patrols near the Black Sea coast. They're not looking for Ukrainian missiles specifically, but if they're in the area during the strike, they might intercept the ATACMS mid-flight. Ukrainian commanders face a decision. Launch now and risk the jets detecting the missiles, or wait until the jets leave and possibly miss the optimal strike window. They decide to wait. The jets usually patrol for 45 minutes before returning to base. At 3:15 a.m., the Russian aircraft turn back toward their airfield. The window is open. At 3:20 a.m., Ukrainian forces receive final confirmation. The convoy is approaching the kill zone. Weather conditions are clear. Air defenses are in normal posture, not high alert. Russian forces have no idea what's about to happen. This is it. 3:35 a.m. Ukrainian missile operators enter final coordinates into the ATACMS system. The target zone is marked on their screens, a section of highway 15 kilometers east of the Crimea Bridge. Intelligence confirms the convoy will pass through this zone between 3:45 a.m. and 3:50 a.m. The missiles launch at 3:38 a.m. 6 ATACMS rockets streak through the night sky at Mach 3. Flight time to target 9 minutes. At 3:42 a.m., the convoy enters the kill zone. 43 trucks moving at 60 kilometers per hour, spaced about 50 meters apart. The vehicles are bunched together exactly as Ukrainian planners predicted. Perfect conditions for a strike. The drivers don't see it coming. At 3:47 a.m., the first missile hits. The explosion is massive. The lead truck carrying bridge cables and steel supports erupts in flames. The blast wave flips two nearby vehicles off the road. Before anyone can react, the second missile strikes 200 meters down the convoy line. Then the third, then the fourth, then the fifth and sixth, all within 30 seconds. The highway becomes an inferno. Fuel tanks explode. Construction equipment is torn apart. Vehicles crash into each other trying to escape. The mobile cranes, too large and slow to maneuver, are hit directly and collapse across the road. Russian forces stationed near the bridge hear the explosions. They see the flames lighting up the night sky 15 kilometers away. Air defense systems activate, but it's too late. The missiles have already struck. There's nothing left to shoot down. Ukrainian drones, positioned safely in the distance, record everything. The footage shows total devastation. Burning trucks scattered across half a kilometer of highway, twisted metal and debris everywhere. The convoy isn't just damaged, it's erased. Within minutes, Russian military channels explode with panicked communications. Reports flood in, convoy destroyed, mass casualties, highway blocked, need immediate support. Russian helicopters scramble to the scene. Emergency crews rush from nearby bases, but the damage is done. The repair convoy, Russia's carefully assembled effort to fix the Crimea Bridge, no longer exists. Later analysis reveals the precision of the strike. 6 missiles, 6 perfect hits. The spacing between impacts was calculated to maximize destruction while ensuring no missile was wasted on empty road. Every ATACMS found its target. Every truck in the critical section of the convoy was either destroyed or damaged beyond use. The specialized equipment Russia had gathered over weeks. Gone, the engineers with years of bridge construction experience, many dead or wounded. The construction materials meant to repair critical sections of the bridge, scattered across kilometers of scorched highway. Russia's plan to quickly repair the Crimea Bridge wasn't just delayed, it was set back by months. The aftermath was even more significant than the strike itself. First, Russia had to admit they'd been hit hard. State media tried to downplay the attack, calling it an incident involving transport vehicles. But satellite images told the truth. International analysts counted at least 27 completely destroyed vehicles. The highway remained blocked for over 18 hours. Second, the psychological impact was devastating to Russian military morale. If Ukraine could strike a convoy this deep inside Russian-controlled territory, nothing was safe. Not supply lines, not staging areas, not even secure routes far behind the front lines. Third, and most importantly, the Crimea Bridge repairs were crippled. Without the specialized equipment and trained engineers, Russia couldn't proceed with critical structural work. The bridge remained operational but vulnerable. Any future Ukrainian strikes would find a target that couldn't be quickly repaired. Russian military logistics immediately felt the pressure. Supply convoys started taking longer routes, avoiding highways where they could be tracked and targeted. This added days to delivery times, fuel costs increased, efficiency dropped. The attack also revealed something crucial about Ukraine's intelligence capabilities. They didn't just get lucky. They had detailed, real-time information about Russian military movements deep inside occupied territory. That level of intelligence suggested extensive networks of informants, advanced surveillance technology, or both. Russia responded by increasing security around all bridge repair operations, more air defense systems, more fighter patrols. Convoy movements became more irregular and unpredictable, but every extra security measure required resources, personnel, and equipment that Russia needed elsewhere. The lesson was clear. Precision strikes on critical infrastructure and logistics can be just as devastating as frontline battles. Ukraine proved they could reach far behind Russian lines and destroy high-value targets with minimal resources. 6 missiles eliminated weeks of Russian preparation and months of planned repairs. For military analysts worldwide, this strike became a case study in modern warfare. It showed the value of intelligence, the power of precision weapons, and the vulnerability of even heavily defended logistics networks. It proved that in modern combat, knowing when and where to strike is often more important than how hard you can strike. So what would you have done differently if you were planning this operation? Would you have struck earlier or waited for an even bigger convoy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more stories about the hidden strategies and dramatic moments of modern conflicts, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. You never know when the next incredible story will drop. Because in war, the most important victories aren't always the ones you see on the news. Sometimes they happen at 3:47 a.m. on a dark highway, when careful planning meets perfect execution.